My First Summer in the Sierra by John Muir. July 7th. Rather weak and sickish this morning, and all about a piece of bread. Can scarce command attention to my best studies, as if one couldn't take a few days' saunter in the godful woods without maintaining a base on a wheat field and grist mill. Like caged parrots, we want a cracker, any of the 100 kinds. The remainder biscuit of a voyage around the world would answer well enough, nor would the wholesomeness of Saleratus biscuit be questioned. Bread without flesh is a good diet, as on many botanical excursions I have proved. Tea also may easily be ignored. Just bread and water and delightful toil is all I need. Not unreasonably much. Yet one ought to be trained and tempered to enjoy life in these brave wilds, in full independence of any particular kind of nourishment. That this may be accomplished is manifest as far as bodily welfare is concerned, in the lives of people of other climes. The Eskimos, for example, gets a living far north of the wheat line from oily seals and whales, meat, berries, bitter weeds, and blubber, or only the last, for months at a time, and yet these people all around the frozen shores of our continent are said to be hearty, jolly, stout, and brave. We hear, too, of fish-eaters, carnivorous as spiders, yet well enough as far as stomachs are concerned, while we are so ridiculously helpless, making wry faces over our fare, looking sheepish in digestive distress amid grumbling sounds that might well pass for smothered bars. We have a large supply of sugar, and this evening it occurred to me that these belligerent stomachs might possibly, like complaining children, be coaxed with candy. Accordingly, the frying pan was cleansed, and a lot of sugar cooked in it to a sort of wax. But this stuff only made matters worse. Man seems to be the only animal whose food soils him, making necessary much washing and shield-like bibs and napkins. Moles living in the earth and eating slimy worms are yet as clean as seals or fishes, whose lives are one perpetual wash. And as we have seen, the squirrels in these resiny woods keep themselves clean in some mysterious way. Not a hair is sticky, though they handle the gummy cones and glide about apparently without care. The birds, too, are clean, though they seem to make a good deal of fuss washing and cleaning their feathers. Certain flies and ants I see are in a fixed, entangled, and sealed up in the sugar wax we threw away, like some of their ancestors in amber. Our stomachs, like tired muscles, are sore with long squirming. Once I was very hungry in the Bonaventure graveyard near Savannah, Georgia, having fasted for several days. Then the empty stomach seemed to chafe in much the same way as now, and a somewhat similar tenderness and aching was produced, hard to bear, though the pain was not acute. We dream of bread, a sure sign we need it. Like the Indians, we ought to know how to get the starch out of fern and saxifrage stalks, lily bulbs, pine bark, etc. Our education has been sadly neglected for many generations. Wild rice would be good. I noticed a leisure in wet meadow edges, but the seeds are small. Acorns are not ripe, nor pine nuts, nor filberts. The inner bark of a pine or spruce might be tried. Drank tea until half intoxicated. Man seems to crave a stimulant when anything extraordinary is going on, and this is the only one I use. Billy chews great quantities of tobacco, which I suppose helps to stupidify and moderate his misery. We look and listen for the dawn every hour. How beautiful upon the mountains his big feet would be. In the warm, hospitable Sierra, shepherds and mountain men in general, as far as I have seen, are easily satisfied as to food supplies and bedding. Most of them are heartily content to rough it, ignoring nature's fineness as bothersome or unmanly. The shepherd's bed is often only the bare ground and a pair of blankets, with a stone, a piece of wood, or a pack saddle for a pillow. In choosing the spot, he shows less care than the dogs, for they usually deliberate before making up their minds in so important an affair, going from place to place, scraping away loose sticks and pebbles, and trying for comfort by making many changes, while the shepherd casts himself down anywhere, seemingly the least skilled of all rest seekers. His food, too, even when he has all he wants, is usually far from delicate, either in kind or cooking. Beans, bread of any sort, bacon, mutton, dried peaches, and sometimes potatoes and onions make up his bill of fare, the two latter articles being regarded as luxuries on account of their weight as compared with the nourishment they contain. A half sack or so of each may be put into the pack in setting out from the home ranch, and in a few days they are done. Beans are the main standby. Portable, wholesome, and capable of going far, besides being easily cooked, although curiously enough, a great deal of mystery is supposed to lie about the bean pot. No two cooks quite agree on the methods of making beans do their best, and after petting and coaxing and nursing the savory mess, well oiled and mellowed with bacon boiled into the heart of it, the proud cook will ask, after dishing out a quart or two for trial, "Well, how do you like my beans?" As if by no possibility could they be like any other beans cooked in the same way, but must needs possess some special virtue of which he alone is master. Molasses, sugar, or pepper may be used to give desired flavors, or the first water may be poured off, and a spoonful or two of ashes or soda added to dissolve or soften the skins more fully, according to various tastes and notions. But, like casks of wine, no two potfuls are exactly alike to every palate. Some are supposed to be spoiled by the moon, by some unlucky day, by the beans having been grown on soil not suitable, or the whole year may be to blame as not favorable for beans. Coffee, too, has its marvels in the camp kitchen, but not so many, and not so inscrutable as those that beset the bean pot. A low, complacent grunt follows, a mouthful drawn in with a gurgle, and the remark cast forth aimlessly, That's good coffee. Then another gurgling sip and repetition of the judgment. Yes, sir, that is good coffee. As to tea, there are but two kinds, weak and strong. The stronger, the better. The only remark heard is, that tea is weak. Otherwise, it is good enough and not worth mentioning. If it has been boiled an hour or two or smoked on a pitchy fire, no matter. Who cares for a little tannin or creosote? They make the black beverage all the stronger and more attractive to tobacco-tanned palates. Sheep camp bread, like most California camp bread, is baked in Dutch ovens, some of it in the form of yeast powder biscuit, an unwholesome sticky compound leading straight to dyspepsia. The greater part, however, is fermented with sourdough, a handful from each batch being saved and put away in the mouth of the flour sack to inoculate the next. The oven is simply a cast iron pot, about 5 inches deep and from 12 to 18 inches wide. After the batch has been mixed and kneaded in a tin pan, the oven is slightly heated and rubbed with a piece of tallow or pork rind. The dough is then placed in it, pressed out against the sides, and left to rise. When ready for baking, a shovelful of coals is spread out by the side of the fire and the oven set upon them, while another shovelful is placed on top of the lid, which is raised from time to time to see that the requisite amount of heat is being kept up. With care, good bread may be made in this way, though it is liable to be burned or to be sour, or raised too much, and the weight of the oven is a serious objection. At last, Don Delaney comes down the Lion Glen. Hunger vanishes. We turn our eyes to the mountains, and tomorrow we go climbing toward Cloudland. Never while anything is left of me shall this first camp be forgotten. It has fairly grown into me, not merely as memory pictures, but as part and parcel of mind and body alike. The deep, hopper-like hollow, with its majestic trees through which all the wonderful nights the stars poured their beauty, the flowery wildness of the high steep slope toward Brown's Flat, and its bloom fragrance descending at the close of the still days, the embowered river reaches with their multitude of voices making melody, the stately flow and rush and glad exulting unsweeping currents caressing the dipping sedge leaves and bushes and mossy stones, swirling in pools, dividing against little flowery islands, breaking gray and white here and there, ever rejoicing, yet with deep, solemn undertones recalling the ocean, the brave little bird ever beside them, singing with sweet human tones among the waltzing foam bells, and like a blessed evangel explaining God's love. And the Pilot Peak Ridge, its long withdrawing slopes gracefully modeled and braided, reaching from climate to climate, feathered with trees that are the kings of their race, their ranks nobly marshaled to view, spire above spire, crown above crown, waving their long, leafy arms, tossing their cones like ringing bells, blessed sun-fed mountaineers rejoicing in their strength, every tree tuneful, a harp for the winds and the sun, the hazel and buckthorn pastures of the deer, the sun-beaten browse, purple and yellow with mint and goldenrods, carpeted with shamabesha, humming with bees. And the dawns and sunrises and sundowns of these mountain days, the rose light creeping higher among the stars, changing to daffodil yellow, the level beams bursting forth, streaming across the ridges, touching pine after pine, awakening and warming all the mighty host to do gladly their shining day's work. The great sun-gold noons, the alabaster cloud mountains, the landscape beaming with consciousness like the face of a god. The sunsets, when the trees stood hushed, awaiting their good night blessings, divine, enduring, unwastable wealth.